Hey everybody, welcome to John Wayne Lied to You, the storytelling podcast featuring little old me, John Wayne. Who am I, you might ask? Well, I'm just a simple man with a not-so-simple life who's had some scrapes and near misses, and now I'm here to tell you all about how I got jammed up in certain situations. Just get jammed up, and how I get out of those jams. I'm here to tell you stories from my life that have happened, and these are all 100% true stories. I'm a writer, I'm a musician, I'm on the road a lot, I seem to attract interesting people, and all of these things make for... Oh, and also I don't make the best decisions at times, so that's actually the key ingredient in all of this that makes it... gives it the whole patois. It brings it together, that's it. Poor decision making. But somehow I seem to fall ass backwards into getting out of all these scrapes and scrams and jams and gyms and flims and flams. And that's pretty much the point of this podcast, to tell you guys my crazy stories. We're here on the Mockingbird Network in Houston, Texas. And I'm very happy to be on this network. There's a lot of great shows that you should also check out if you're listening to this one. That you'd also enjoy. It's a lot of people I see like posting on Facebook a lot, like, I need podcasts, name me some podcasts, and then like every Yahoo just like puts like a billion fucking podcasts on there in your comments, and you'll never get to go through all of them because too many goddamn comments. How do you sort through that? I'm here to tell you that this is all you need to do. No sorting. Go to the Mockingbird Network, and you can listen to great shows like The Stacks. It's a live weekly podcast. Ruth, Ned, and Josh. And that's at Rec Room here in Houston, recorded live every week. It's awesome. You can listen to Relationshit with Stacy and Oha. It's a very, very funny podcast about the craziness of love and sex and dating and things that seem to happen to them and their guests. You can also listen to Let's Compare Notes, awesome music podcast where my buddy Rahul hosts that, discusses albums. You break it down, talk to each other about what the album means to you. Great stuff. All kinds of great shows on the Mockingbird Network that you should check out, including this one. So thank you guys for being here again. Today we're going to talk about Las Vegas. Remember when I said earlier that I made poor decisions? I wasn't good at making good decisions necessarily. That comes into play a little bit in this story. So I would say, without further ado to you and you and you. Our story this week, coming from the glitz, the glamour, the lights, the sounds, the ladies, the desert, the drugs of Las Vegas. This story is called $100 Napkin. Las Vegas. Las Vegas is a pretty cool town if you've never been there. I recommend that you go. Check it out at least once. I've been to Las Vegas probably 6 times, I would say, maybe 7. And it's all right. It's not exactly my favorite place to be, and this is just for me, because I don't gamble, and that's the primary reason to go to Vegas. I like to see the shows. Shows are cool. They're expensive though, so you kind of have to budget for that, or you can buy like back alley discount tickets day of the show or something like that. That's how I've seen most of the shows that I've gone to, I guess. And then you can chill out by like the pool if you stay in a hotel, and that's great, but like beers are $9 by the pool and stuff. It's just kind of, I don't know, it's fun, but it's not for me. And I've definitely been enough times where I feel like I've got the Vegas experience. So I'm good. Like, I'm good. Unless I'm going out there to perform personally. I don't know how attracted I am just to going to visit. Also, man, sorry. Also, I did get married in Las Vegas once. I'm not married anymore, but my ex-wife, got married in Las Vegas at Caesar's Palace. And now that's not why I don't like Vegas. Not like I have like some kind of bad memory or like, fuck that. That was where I was married to the woman I'm divorced to. No, 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 nothing like that. It's all good. And we're still good friends today. So there's not like there's ill will there or any kind of weird connection that I have. But I did get married there. Funny story, at Caesar's Palace, and you kind of it's kind of like super easy to get married in Vegas. I would recommend that actually. If you're gonna go to Vegas, go to get married because it's pretty damn simple. It's like a one stop kind of shop, right? Like the like you we had a wedding coordinator from Caesar's Palace, and you pay like $2,200 or something, and they take care of everything, like every goddamn thing you can think of, like flowers and shit for your people. Now, it's not a big. You can't throw a big wedding, at these things. They're small, and that's what ours was. One thing that was really shitty about it was I personally wanted to get married by Elvis very badly, um, and that was cool with my ex-wife at the time, and we were gonna do it. But Caesar's Palace will not let you hire an Elvis to officiate your wedding there. I don't know why. They wouldn't explain it to me. So you had two options. Well, three really. You can have a, just an ordained minister, an ordained person who officiates the wedding for you, and you can either have a religious ceremony or a non-religious ceremony. Sounds pretty straightforward so far. I could see if they like to keep it classy at Caesar's Palace. Maybe that's why they don't want like an Elvis coming in there and all that kind of stuff. But when you hear what the second option is, you're kind of like, what? Because you could also, your other option to get married by, you can have your wedding officiated by Caesar himself in full regalia, and he comes out with Cleopatra, and that bitch doesn't talk because she's not allowed to, and they've got some guards with the big, fucking dog-headed spears and shit, and they're like fanning Caesar while he's doing the thing. Like, to me, that seemed a little bit more disrespectful, but I guess I understand how they have to stay on brand at Caesar's Palace, and maybe Elvis, just wasn't their thing. Anyway, I digress. That's not really what the story is about, but I want to lay out these things to you just so you kind of know where I'm coming from in this story. So, like I said, I've been to Vegas many times. Um, my fiance, Katie, had not been to Vegas before until recently when we went with a group of friends to the wedding of our two other very good friends, Eddie and Martha. Shouts out to Eddie and Martha. Now, remember, like I said earlier, the the best reason to go to Vegas is to get married. See, they're doing it right. However, they do like Vegas and gambling and all that kind of stuff, so that's kind of their thing. But they can tell you that story themselves. So we all go on a group trip wedding to Las Vegas. What I was looking forward to this trip anyway because it was all friends and it was going to be a lot of fun. But one of the main attractions for me was we were staying on Fremont Street at the Gold Nugget. Every other time I've been to Las Vegas, I've stayed on the Strip in one of the hotels out there. So this was like, and I'd actually never even made it out to Fremont Street any of those times. So I was really, I was excited about doing that. And since Katie hadn't been there, we kind of blocked off a good chunk of time to go so that we could, be there for the wedding, all the wedding festivities, and kind of like have a little vacation out of it as well. Well, so that basically ended up in us deciding we were going to stay in Las Vegas for 5 days, which I will tell you now is exactly 3.5 more days than you should ever spend in Las Vegas. But you know what? Live and learn. Anyway, we get to Las Vegas. The only people in the group that are there yet are the bride and groom to be, Eddie and Martha, and Katie and myself. And we actually flew in on the same plane, like, oh, hey, look at us, we're flying together, whatever. It's fine. We get to the place. We get to the place being Las Vegas, and we take, a cab to our we all get to the hotel somehow together, and check in, and Eddie and Martha are doing their thing. Katie and I, we're gonna do our thing. So first thing we want to do is take a walk up and down Fremont Street. Obviously, like if you're unfamiliar with what Fremont Street is, it's the classic Vegas, all the old hotels where everything originally was, and then they've made it up into this like almost, I don't know, like an amusement park of a world. Like the whole street's covered with a screen that projects shit all the time, and there's like all kinds of street performers, all kinds of shit. It's like a circus, right? So we decided to walk up and down Fremont Street, check it out, see all the stuff. We're walking, looking at everything. There's a lot to look at, and there's a long stretch to walk. So we get to walk in, and we're having a fine time, good conversation. Now, if you're a regular listener to the podcast, or you know me in any capacity, really, that I have quite the affinity for the marijuana, in that I like to smoke it all the time, and that's kind of the thing I like to do almost the most. Not in a weird, pathetic, sick way, but just like, it's my thing, okay? So don't judge me. Anyway, we were going to be in Vegas for 5 days, and I did not have weed, right? I didn't fly with anything. I still haven't figured out any of those tricks and shit like that. And I just think right now, maybe I'm a pussy, but I'm not going to fly with weed on purpose until I really figure something out. But we get there, of course I have no weed. And I didn't really think about it too much until we started walking up and down Fremont Street. Keep this in mind that we've also just arrived. Like, not a whole lot of time has passed since we've even left Houston, where I did get high before we got on the plane to come there. So I start to think about this. We have some other friends that are coming into town the next evening who say they have a friend that they can meet us up that can get weed, no problem. Like, we've already discussed this before we left. But now I want weed. I want weed now, not tomorrow night. And I'm just kind of thinking, like, man, where am I going to get weed from? Like, I don't even know where to start in this city. So as we're walking, there's a guy, a young man coming towards us, like kind of like against the flow of traffic, not that there was like a necessary, like, if you're on this side, you walk this way. If you're on this side, you walk that way. It's just, the majority was, some people were coming, but this guy was cutting through very like, in a very particular fashion, and kind of stepping towards certain people, stepping away from certain people. And I watched him kind of walking towards us. And as he gets closer, I hear he's saying something under his breath as he walks. And he's saying, weed, weed, coke, weed, weed. And as he passes me, I hear him say that. And for whatever reason, it was like my subconscious weed barometer, like, just triggered my senses, and I didn't really have control over them anymore. Or maybe I just made a really bad decision in this moment. But either way, I turned on my heel, flipped around, and said, "Hey man, what's up?" He stopped, turned to me, we locked eyes, and then he nodded and said, "Let's go." So we started walking. I told him, we walked right past Katie, of course, and I stopped him and said, "Hold on." I went back to Katie and I said, "Hey, I'm going to buy some weed from this guy." And she's like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll meet you back up in the room in like 10 minutes. And she's like, "Oh, okay." So she lets me do this because she knows I'm going to do whatever I want anyway. And I'm walking with this guy, and he's like, kind of talking to me, and he's like, "So what you want?" And I was like, I want some weed." And he was like, "Okay, that's cool. How much you want?" And I was like, "Well, what do you got? What are you selling it in?" And he was like, "I got that good shit." And I was like, "All right, I'm sure it's good." And he's like, "Check it out." And he reaches in his pocket, brings out his hand closed-fisted, puts it on my hand, like to open, signals for me to open my hand, and slips something in my hand. I look down at it, and it's a bud of weed. And I'm like, oh shit. And he's like, smell it. So I put it in my nose, smell it. Smells really good, actually. Like, it really did, no joke, smell good. And he's like, do I got the shit? And I was like, yeah, you got the shit. And he's like, okay, how much you want? And I was like, I don't know, at least an eighth. That'd be good. And he's like, okay. And then he says, I got that Coke, though, too. And while I don't really do cocaine, I'm not really a cocaine guy. It's like, whatever. I like to party. There's something, again, in my head, maybe coming from that place of poor decision making, that says, you're in Vegas. Why don't you get some cocaine? And I said, all right, I'll take some Coke too. And he's like, all right. And I was like, here's the deal, dude. Let me get an eighth. And I had $100 to spend. And I was like, let me get that eighth. And then let me get whatever's left. Because I think he was gouging the shit out of my fucking prices here, because you probably pay like 50 for an eighth, 40 sometimes, you can get away with that. I think he wanted like 75 or something. And then I'm like, all right, well, just use the rest towards, like, just give me a 20 bag. And he's like, I don't have that. I don't have it broken up in that amount. And I was like, okay, well then never mind. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. And he's like, you don't have any more money? And I was like, no, man, I don't have any money. I'm spending $100. That's it. Like, this is what I've allotted for my drugs for the day or time or whatever. And he was like, okay, cool. I'm going to have to split it up though. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So we're walking, like, keep this in mind, like, this is a long ass fucking walk. This talk that we're having, this back and forth, it's not happening like super quickly. He's being like real dodgy, he's kind of looking around a lot and shit. And I guess I understand that, like, he's just walking around asking people if they want to buy drugs. I assume he knows the lay of the land better than I do. But what the fuck do I know? I'm just a stupid sap from out of town anyway, right? So we've walked all the fucked way down, like, Fremont Street to where we need to, like, turn around and start coming back. So we do that, and he's like, all right, man, we gotta find somewhere to do this. And I was like, man, we were passing, like, tons of places that we could have ducked behind a dumpster. We passed a lot of parking garages where there was a side entrance, like a walk-in entrance and shit. And I was like, dude, let's just go in this stairwell right here real quick. And he's like, he kept telling me, no, people are watching. They got cameras everywhere. And I was like, yeah, I know, but I mean, if we just look, we can look around if there's cameras in the stairwell. I mean, plus, like, who the fuck cares? We're just two guys hanging out. And he was like, nah, man, no, we gotta keep walking. So I was like, all right, fuck. So we keep walking, and he finally decides that it's okay for him to go behind this parking garage area. And he says, keep a lookout. I'll be right back. So I'm like, okay. So I'm just, like, standing there being cool, whatever, trying to be. And he's back in like a minute. And he's like, all right, walk. So we start walking, and he goes, give me your hand. So I put my hand out, and he slips a baggie in my hand that's, like, clearly, like, the weed, right? And I kind of glance down. I see it, that it's weed in a bag. I put it in my pocket. And he's like, give me the money. And I was like, all right. I took the money out, gave it to him. And he's like, all right, you ready for the other thing? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, all right, put your hand out. And he's just like, quick like a master illusionist, if you will. Like, if he was, this guy could be probably like a ninja at sleight of hand if he wanted to. Like, that's how quick it was. Like, I didn't even realize that the money had left my hand and something else was in my hand. At how fast he moved, and something dropped in my hand, and he was just gone. He kind of did like a stutter step, like he said bye, and he had turned completely around and, like, disappeared in a sea of people going the other way. It was kind of like eerie from a movie. And I'm like, whatever. I look down in my hand. I see there's a tied off little baggie with something white in it, and I'm like, all right, cool. Put it in my pocket. by this time, I'm going to say probably a good 30 minutes has gone by. Like this whole ordeal between us, this whole walk, this whole back and forth about not being able to divide up what he had, and, couldn't I give him more money, or I was like, not going to do that clearly. So he was like, okay, cool. So I get back to the room. Like I said, took way longer than the 10 minutes I told Katie. So Katie's like fucking, she's upset. First of all, she was super fucking worried. Like, I walked off with some stranger to buy drugs on the street, and she has no idea. And I wasn't answering my phone because I was talking to this guy while she was apparently, like, texting me and calling me. So I'm like, I get back up there, and I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, baby. Don't worry, though. I got the goods. Daddy got the goods. We're going to party. We're going to have a good time. And she's like, why? What do you mean? I was like, I got this weed, and it was, like, clearly not an eighth. I mean, it was at least a gram and a half short, probably. And then I was like, but I got some coke too, and I dropped the little bindle basically like on the desk of of our hotel room. And she's like, "What'd you get coke for?" And I was like, "I don't know. I just wanted to get some party." And she's like, "Okay." And then so I go to the little bindle. It's tied off, little cellophane. I untie it carefully. I pull back the cellophane from the contents. And it's like a bright white ball of cocaine right there, just like packed super tight in like a super form, like dome looking form, and I'm looking at it and I'm like expecting it to kind of crumble at any minute, into pieces and powders, and it doesn't move at all. Katie looks over my shoulder and she's like, "That doesn't look like cocaine. What is that?" And I said, "No, it's just packed real tight." And as I go to touch it, I notice something just like hanging off the side of this tightly packed ball, like a little, almost like a flat, just little piece on the side. So I grab it between my thumb and forefinger and start to pull. And as I pull, I see that the tightly packed ball of cocaine starts coming apart. And it is clear that it's a napkin that I'm unraveling as I'm pulling on this little bit that was hanging off of the side. So, of course, the first thing in my mind is like, maybe the cocaine's in the napkin. But no, it was just I fucking pull up this little piece of napkin, wadded up, tied off in a baggie. So now I'm kind of very surprised a little bit, and the first thing I felt, I guess, wasn't anger like you may think. It was like embarrassment, because I was like, man, I just got totally fucking had. I didn't even get an eighth worth of weed and no cocaine, and I gave this guy $100 fucking. So I was very embarrassed, and Katie was like, "I can't believe you did that," of course. And she was saying things behind me, but I wasn't really paying attention because these thoughts are going through my head. Embarrassment, which immediately then turned into anger. I started to get very mad. And I said, "Fuck this, I'm going to find this guy." And Katie's like, "No." And I was like, "I'm going back down the street." She's like, "Well, I'm coming with you then." So we go down fucking to the street, and I just go out and I'm looking for this guy, man. I know exactly what he looked like. The defining feature was that he had this bright blue, like Orlando Magic, the basketball team, hat on, and a Orlando Magic jersey. So I knew to look for the blue hat and jersey, and I'm looking everywhere, and like just walked up and down and up and down. And I don't know what I was gonna do if I found him. Like, I'm not like a fighter, but I mean, in that moment I was super charged up, and I felt like at the very least I wanted to pounce on him and like just get him to the ground and hold a hand up and just start yelling like, "This guy's trying to sell me drugs, cops, cops." I know that's a fucked up move, but I was fucking pissed. Like, I was very pissed. So as we walked and walked and walked, and it was like, man, clearly I wasn't going to find this guy. Clearly he knew. He's done this enough times to fucking split once he rips at least enough people off or something. So he's gone. And then we meet back up with our friends, and more people have arrived. And, before I know it, I've told the story, or it's the story's circulated through the entire group of people at this wedding, all of our friends and stuff. And everyone's had a good laugh and, ripping on me a little bit about it with, totally justified. I was really stupid. And, by the end of the trip, I was just kind of like, well, that was just that was my Vegas gambling experience. That's how I lost my money, gambling with my life, I guess. But one positive thing that came out of that, aside from the wedding, which was beautiful and it was a great time and we all partied our asses off, the friends that were coming in that had a friend in town who they said could get me weed did come through and set up a rendezvous for me to meet this friend of theirs at a place called the Beauty Bar. And it turned out that this friend of theirs was a porn star. So I get to the Beauty Bar to meet her. And also I'm not trying to like be mysterious. I fucking really don't. I don't know who she was, like what her acting name was, or I can't remember it right now or something, but she was a porn star. And there's some concert about to happen in the backyard area, stage area of this bar, but that's where she's told me to come meet her. So I like go back out there and, I'm just like, well, I'm here to meet this person. So they let me in, and she gives me like, she gives me a big hug. She's super nice. She sells me this awesome bag of fucking great quality weed. And then she pulls out a blunt and she's like, you want to smoke this blunt before you go? And I was like, yeah. What the hell's going on up here? And it turned out like it was her boyfriend, I think, who was he was in a band. I don't know if he was in. I think he was in the band. There was a band playing, and it was a rap rock band fronted by Ice-T's cousin, and that was like the big claim to fame, I guess, or that was like what was supposed to be driving maybe some of the hype around this band. I don't know. I didn't stay for a lot of it. But I did get super high with this chick, and it was pretty awesome. But yeah, so like I said, the ass backwards part is that, I did end up having great weed access the entire time anyway. I didn't have to do what I did. That's the poor decision-making aspect of my life. And like I said, so far, so good. So, hopefully we'll keep this train going, and I won't be duped into buying any more napkins. All right, Vegas, baby, Vegas. Beautiful babies. You're so money, you don't even know it. You got a line on any good napkins? Holla at me. Yeah, so that was one of my Vegas stories. Yeah, I'm pretty dumb, guys. Sorry to tell you. But I do thank you for tuning in to another episode. You're not dumb for that. Certainly not. So please be sure to check us out again every Monday on the Mockingbird Network. We're on iTunes, and this is also on my YouTube channel, John Wayne is Dead. Speaking of John Wayne is Dead, you can check out my band, John Wayne is Dead. We have some shows coming up. Also, check out some of the books that I have out, Porn Star Retirement Plan, Charged Land, and Ant Poster. And coming in about 2 weeks, guys, I'll be announcing it, the exact date, but my short story collection of creative nonfiction stories where you can read some of the stories that you hear on this very show. The book is called John Wayne Lied to You, a mostly true account of the adventures of a modern-day hero, and it comes out on Rooster Republic very, very soon, so check it out. And then I've got some more things coming out in October from Grindhouse that I'll tell you all about as that gets closer. And yeah, it's all good. But everything that I have and everything that I do and everything that I'm a part of and all the dates and things that I am performing at are available at johnwayneisdead.com. johnwayneisdead.com, one word, all together. Thank you guys so much again for tuning in, and I hope that you all come back, and I hope that you all enjoy your napkins in good health.